Hello, everybody. Now, previously we covered the problems of using voice actors in mods and the reality behind it all. Today we're going to cover the benefits of having voice acting in mods. Now, if you think of right back to Return to Helgen, there's a particular scene where there's a priest in the Temple of Talos in Windhelm, and you go in there and you talk to him. And in the middle of the conversation, two knights come out from behind the pillar and walk around to stand by his side. It's a very emotional conversation. Now, if you had Matty's Knights of the Nine Armour installed, because of what I did, they would be dressed as Knights of the Nine. If you didn't, they're dressed in ebony. And the reason why that works that way is because I put my ebony armour in locations where his armour would be and named it the same as his armour. He knew, I told him what I was doing and he was okay with it. Right? Then you installed his armour after mine, and suddenly the two knights were dressed as Knights of the Nine. They came out and stood by the priest of the Nine, because that's when he introduces himself to the player. Having watched the player fight in the Falmor and the Aldemir Dominion, he now offers to help. Now, that conversation couldn't have taken place if there was no voice acting. The emotion of that scene couldn't have taken place without voice acting. Whether players wanted to do it or not, whether players want to help donate to make that work or not, it couldn't have happened anyway if nobody had submitted a single line. But they did. So it worked, and luckily the player that did the actual lines, nailed it. He got the part exactly right. So we got lucky. But that scene there is a classic example of why voice acting in mods is worth it. Because I'll tell you now, there's that horse armour mod, the Dwemer one I like. There's no such lines in that. There's no emotion in that mod. It is just a hacky way through endless automatons, and that's it. But it could have been a much better. You could have had all kinds of stuff going on down there, building up the mystery of the Dwemer ruins and things. But no, I missed out because there was no voice acting. There's plenty of mods out there that don't include voice work that would have been vastly improved with a bit of voice work. Now, yes, if you include voice work, you're going to get voted down when you upload your mod. That's a fact. Because players like to moan, like to bitch. They tend to be very ungrateful at the work that goes into voice acted mods. But those that like the mods will deeply appreciate the difference between having that voice work in there and having no voice work in there, even if, and they usually won't, say nothing. They won't say anything, but they will deeply appreciate it. They will talk in scope of the mod, not the voice acting. And because they're talking scope of the mod and the voice work added to the mod, they'll say the mod was much better. You won't say they'll be better because of the voice act. They'll say the mod is better. Now, there's plenty of other scenes, in other mods where the voice acting added emotion, added various, things that you couldn't have got without voice acting. And then you've got the fun people have. Now remember, I'm not a professional developer. I'm a mod maker. That means I'm an amateur developer. That's the very definition of mod maker, is amateur developer, right? If you expect an amateur developer to out thousands of pounds for voice acting, then basically you're being unrealistic. If you're expecting everybody that helps an amateur developer to make something to be good at it, then you're deluding yourself. Right? It's just not the way it works. We struggle to get reliable people to help us, which is why so many mods go under without voice acting while they're waiting for the voice actors, because people aren't reliable. They aren't good. They're chasing perfection, and there is no such thing as perfection amongst player base when it comes to voice acting. So all you can do is put the lines out there and see if anybody records a line that fits the character that you intend to do. Most of the time, you don't really have a choice. You get one person might submit a line, right? Whereas if you do get someone and they do match it, you've got to hang on to those people because they're the best ones. Now, voice acting is actually a lot of fun. So at the Engineering Guild, when I ran that website, I had a voice actors guild, which Roger helped me with. Now, this was where I posted some lines, some brief notes of what I wanted from each character. Roger would then go and organise it, because matching the lines to players was part of the job, and then getting the lines in on time and chasing them down and making sure every line I posted was in fact, recorded was a major job. Which is why I got around that by recording every single line myself. Then if I say I got a female voice actor supplied lines, I'd change the character to female in order to use her lines. That way I didn't suffer if there was no females, volunteers. But it was fun. We used to have a laugh and a joke about it. Now, if you listen to, say, Solstheim, there are certain characters in there, and you've got to put on accents. I've done quite a few accents in my mods. I mean, my Kvatch Aftermath voice acting was probably the worst I've ever done, right? But I've gotten a lot better. So I've enjoyed doing it. I've got friends just naturals at making accents out, for characters. One of them did a joke with me, a pepperoni pizza joke with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is an old gag going back to the early days of the internet. It's pepperoni pizza. You're so 9mm with that. I'm no good at it. He's brilliant at it. But the point is, it's a lot of fun. It adds to the dimension of mod making. Not only do players get a chance to be in a mod with their voice and make it happen and make it better, and that's one of the good things, they get to see the creative side, and some of them, they get the bug. They want to do it more often. Some of them might go off and do it professionally if they found they're exceptionally good. Now others, they get their ego on and they just, it's like dealing with a diva. But most of the time, people are all right. Now, if you like voice acting, you like to try to get into character, then you could just sit there, play around with your voice. You could try the old Yoda thing, you go, oh, yes, Or you could just try something a bit different. Like, I used to try and find the Morrowind sound, from the Dragonborn DLC. You go, if I can remember how it's done. He goes like, Solstheim is a big place with many dangers. You have to be careful where you tread. Sometimes it's down to the pausing in between the words. And sometimes it's about accents that you're trying to recreate. But either way, if the voice matches, people will be happy with the results. You see? Now, it is fun. So the combination of making an emotional scene which people feel engaged with, which can only happen really when you've got the voice actors there to do it and the voice acting works in that scene and it all comes together. Just like Bethesda did with the Blades, when people first played Skyrim and you're introduced to the last of the Blades. That kind of emotional scene. But which is when you first introduced to that and the voice acting's there, the result is amazing. So why would a person like me, who'd already made the problem with voice acting in mods video, make voice acting in mods part of my plan? A few reasons. One, because I want that emotion and I aim to pull it off. I'm not always successful, but the effort to do it is part of the fun. I want you guys to be in on that fun, to be able to join in. And sometimes you will prank me with a few extra lines which I wasn't expecting, where you're just having fun. And it is often hilarious. Those at the Engineering Guild did it all the time to me, and we always had a laugh over it. There's a lot of negativity going on in the Elder Scrolls community towards my mods, especially because I made a lot of mods and people got jealous of the fact I was making a lot of mods, right? Because they couldn't keep up and they couldn't do the kind of complex mods I was doing. So, yeah, I got the tag of a few jealous comments from people and their fans. But I did include people. I let them join in so they could have fun just like me. And this is why I did it. I knew I'd get voted down. I knew players would moan and bitch, and I did it anyway. because I wanted, as an amateur mod maker, to have fun making mods, and I wanted you guys to have fun too, making the same mod as me. Although in this case you're submitting voice lines, so it's not quite making it, but it's helping, you see? And that's why I like to include voice actors. That's the advantage. The emotion, the fun, and the complex stories all add up. It becomes something much better than a simple dungeon delve hacking and slashing automatons. Because once you add that emotional scene, even if it's only a small one, you've set the scene for the rest of the mod. Now I'm lucky. When I've done my mods, they're quite big. Now whether it's the Elder Council, you know, when the peasants are revolting, yes, they always were, you know. That's a scene from Lord of the Realm, I believe. It's a game. But anyway, it's the Elder Council, or you're doing Return to Helgen, or the NCR mod, or any other large mod with a lot of dialogue in it. The opportunity to write some classic scenes is always there. Now, the downside is many people who consider themselves to be good at spelling and grammar think they're good at writing and creating scenes, and I'll tell you now, they're not. They might sit there correcting my grammar and spelling, but they're actually one-skill wonders. They don't have the knack. The ones that do have a spark of intelligence and a spark of imagination, and they manage to mesh it together. And there isn't that many people around with that skill, sadly. It's creative writing. Being able to write something. Also, the problem you've got is if you can write something creatively, then people won't be able to read it out in a natural way. Because I've noticed I'm a bit dyslexic, and you might not notice when I'm actually writing text, but I am a bit dyslexic, and dyslexics make the same mistake when they're hearing, when they're writing, and when they're talking, which is why sometimes out of my mouth something weird will come out and I wouldn't have noticed. I might mention something and you'll think, hang on, that's strange. That's dyslexia. It's the way your brain interprets language. But anyway, when you're actually writing these things, people read it back, need it to flow. So it just comes smoothly out the mouth. When you do that and it works, it's like listening to one of Churchill's speeches. It just sets the scene. All you need then is you need somebody of a good voice to do the line. And suddenly, you're nailing it. You see? You're absolutely getting it spot on. And it creates the impression that character is alive. And you can only get that when you include voice work in your mods. So, is it worth it? Knowing it's going to get the mod turned down from a 10 down to, say, a 6? Yeah, every time. This is what I think of the 6. I mean, of the voting down. And I'm going to do it anyway. So, yeah, I'm not going to be discouraged by the people or the naysayers. The problem I do have, though, is it does require a website to organise, which is one of the reasons why I've got to think about bringing back the site. If not to share files on, but to organise voice work. I could just rent a forum someplace, you know. I like the Envision Boards forums. I could rent one of theirs. I can't remember how much it was now, but, you know, that would do it. You know, then use that to organise everything. Saved me a lot of messing around if I did it that way, to be honest. But anyway, we shall see. But anyway, if I do get modding Starfield, I will need voice actors. And it is a lot of fun. And you will be encouraged to experiment and practice. And even if you're no good, we will help you. And I say we because I've got a tiny little feeling that Roger will rejoin me and he'll be there to help everybody as well as me. So it will be fun. So watch this space, and if you have got any interest in voice acting, because you do get over the fact that you don't like the sound of your own voice, you do get over that and you start enjoying it, then, you know, just watch this space and sign up when I ask, right? Because it will be a big step and it will be an important step. See you in the next one.